Shocking photos out of Afghanistan today as reports began to circulate that the U.S. military abandoned military dogs at this airport in Kabul, Afghanistan. But the Pentagon is pushing back. They say this isn't true. They didn't leave any dogs behind. Who's lying to you? That's what we always want to figure out here, and we're going to do that today as well. Let's dive in to find out what's really going on. I'm going to show you everything that's truly happened in this story, and then I'll show you video of where the dogs are right this moment. This is a video that demands your attention, and I hope you give it a share. American Humane Group says the U.S. left military dogs behind in Afghanistan, said the New York Post in a screaming headline that animal lovers could not stand to hear. Here's what they say. An animal rights group slammed the Biden administration after the U.S. military was accused of leaving its contract dogs behind in Afghanistan before pulling out of Kabul. But the military hit back, blasting the reports as erroneous. They said this is erroneous. It didn't happen. One of the organizations pushing this is American Humane. Now, follow closely here. The American government, they said in a tweet, is pulling out of Kabul and leaving behind brave U.S. military contract working dogs to be tortured and killed by the hand of our enemies. We stand ready to bring them home. And then they have a statement from the CEO. Now, why would they be worried about these dogs being tortured and killed? The Taliban doesn't take too kindly to dogs. They are known to kill them and certainly ban people from having pets. They view it as beneath them. That's against their religious beliefs. So dogs are a no-go, and they're in very grave danger if they're just left behind with these folks. And then the Pentagon came to push back. John Kirby, the Pentagon press secretary, said, to correct erroneous reports, the U.S. military did not leave any dogs in cages at the Hamid Karzai International Airport, that's the one in Kabul, including the reported military working dogs. Photos circulating online were animals under the care of Kabul Small Animal Rescue, not dogs under our care. Now, they've done something there with wordplay that I'm going to highlight for you in just a second, but many other stories followed, echoing the Pentagon's claims. Defense One says no U.S. military dogs were left behind in Afghanistan, according to the Department of Defense. The Pentagon pushed back. Over the course of the last few days, images showing dogs in cages left in Afghanistan claimed they were service dogs abandoned by the U.S. military. Pentagon officials have debunked the claims. They again blame Kabul Small Animal Rescue. We move on to people just screeching on Twitter, which always happens. No dogs were left behind in Afghanistan. It's been proven, and there's a lot like this. Stop listening to Fox News and stop letting the GQP divide us. What really happened? We're getting into that in just a second. But first, a follow-up from the New York Post. All military working dogs with the U.S. Armed Forces left with their handlers ahead of the August 31st deadline. But the stray animals with KSAR couldn't leave because of issues with customs, the Department of Defense told the USA Today. They said their priority was the evacuation of U.S. citizens. Yikes. SIV and vulnerable Afghans. Left a couple of them behind, just like the dogs. And they said the photos circulating online were under the care of the Kabul Small Animal Rescue. Even Snopes weighs in, and they said false. And Snopes, well, Snopes is never wrong, right? There were more questions, though. I certainly had some. What are these dogs? What are they doing at the airport? And why did somebody leave them in these cages? We're going to find that out. It takes digging to find the truth sometimes. The Department of Defense spokesman said all military dogs that were in Afghanistan left the country with their handlers. However, questions regarding contract working dogs not being evacuated continued to circulate. Contract working dogs are trained by private contractors, not the government, and they're used for military operations. The DoD spokesman said this is important. The Kabul Animal Rescue chartered a contract plane to pick up the contract working dogs, but it never arrived. The fate of those dogs is currently unknown. Woof! Yikes! The spokesman noted the U.S. military would never leave its dogs behind. To suggest otherwise is ridiculous. So let's pick it apart really, really quick. The Pentagon said, we didn't leave behind any military working dogs. But wait a second. These activist groups in American Humane didn't say that. They said U.S. military contract working dogs. What's the difference, you ask? Here you go. Honestly, not much. You have military working dogs and contract working dogs. And they do the same thing. As you can see right here, job descriptions, they both go after explosives. They can find IEDs, narcotics. They go on patrol with the soldiers. They both act side by side and work side by side in the U.S. military. There is no difference in how they treat these dogs when they're using them with the military, other than the fact that one was trained by the U.S. military and the other was trained by contractors. The U.S. military is saying, we didn't leave behind any dogs. They're talking about MWDs, military working dogs. The activist groups are saying, you left behind contract working dogs. And they're right. That's exactly what they did. As the U.S. military took off, these dogs who helped our soldiers in Afghanistan, and I'm sure many of them were injured and wounded right alongside soldiers, were left behind in Afghanistan. And that doesn't seem right to me. Where are they now? Let's take a look at the Kabul airport. This is Afghanistan, and you'll see the barbed wire here. A local news organization filmed, "There's the dogs." They were set free out of their cages and are now wandering on the tarmac in Kabul, Afghanistan. Who knows if these animals have any food, any water? Who knows if the Taliban is going to go over there and just start annihilating these dogs? Because again, the Taliban hates dogs. It's another real big sign that they're not great people. And these animals are truly there now, wandering the airport, and they were captured on this video. That's them. That's the dogs that we were talking about. They let them out of these cages. But what happens next? Well, these contract working dogs were taken in by the group that the Pentagon and the Department of Defense really want to blame right now. And they seem like pretty good people. Kabul Small Animal Rescue. They literally save puppy dogs in Afghanistan. My God. And that's what they were up to. When they're not getting blamed by the U.S. government, they're saving these dogs. And they put out an urgent update. They said, moving forward, KSAR's primary objective is to return to that airport when it's safe, with the hope of the Taliban cooperating to try to retrieve or re-rescue the animals who were released at the airport. The situation at the airport remains very unsafe, but KSAR is hopeful their staff will be allowed to return to the airport at some point to try to save their dogs. During her departure from the airport, Charlotte, she's the leader of this organization, requested the U.S. military open bags of dog food she was able to bring into the airport and scatter their contents in the areas where the dogs had been released. Where is she talking about? She's talking about on that tarmac and in the area where the dogs were released. I don't see any dog food. It's possible that the U.S. military did spread around this dog food. It's possible that they didn't. And just like they left the dogs there, they didn't bother to leave the food behind. But as you hear stories going around about how this isn't true, it's fake news, we didn't leave any dogs behind, you now know that's not true. This is about dividing up military working dogs and contract working dogs, which are virtually the same thing. And really, if dogs helped us in our military effort, the least we could do is not leave them behind. I'm sure we can figure out something with customs, considering we're bringing back thousands of human beings from Afghanistan. It's not hard to figure this out. You don't leave dogs that help you out in a war behind. You don't leave soldiers that help you out in a war behind. And you don't leave citizens that are on a list that'll now be looked up by the Taliban because they worked with you behind. I don't know what to tell you if you don't make sense of that. But this is the true story behind this photo and story. If you enjoyed this, please hit the share button. I'd appreciate it if you did that. I think this is an important story, and we'll follow up on it if need be. Hit that share button, and then if you're new around here at facebook.com/thenewsjunkie, hit follow for videos just like this every single day. Over on youtube.com/thenewsjunkie, hit subscribe. Thank you so much to my supporters on both platforms. Your support means a lot. It makes it worthwhile to come in here and make these videos. And I've been battling with Facebook over an error that has them really throttling all of my videos over the last week or two. Everything will go back to normal in a couple of weeks here. But to make a long story short, they took an old piece of content that was posted and re-punished me for it on this page. Wasn't fake news, wasn't anything like that. It was a picture of a person or a video of a person freaking out at a restaurant. And So it's been a troublesome week or two, and leaves me very frustrated with Facebook. But we'll recover, and we appreciate you in the meantime. So thank you so much. I look forward to your comments. Tell me what you think about this, about all the reactions, and about what should happen to these dogs. Should they be left on their own? To Afghanistan and the Taliban and whatever else happens to them? Should we make sure these dogs come back, come hell or high water? I'm sure you got opinions on this, and I look forward to seeing those. Thanks as always for watching my video. I do appreciate that, and we'll talk to you again real soon.